Good morning, and thank you for registering and joining us today for the second webinar in our 2023 series, Legal Strategies for Women Leaders. My name is Amanda Dernovshek, and I'm an attorney here at Foster Swift and a member of our firm's Business and Tax Practice Group. Our first webinar in this series was held in April of this year. In that webinar, we discussed the importance of protecting your brand. If you're interested in that topic, you can find a recording of that webinar on Foster Swift's YouTube page. This is the second of 3 sessions scheduled for this year. Each session will provide ample time for participants to ask questions, discuss legal opportunities, and problem-solve challenges that women leaders face. This session is being recorded, and we will email you a link following the program, along with answers to any questions that we do not have time to address today. We want to be respectful of your time, so we will limit this session to 30 minutes. Today's program is informational only and is not legal advice. In today's discussion, attorney Deanna Swisher will discuss the importance of legal counsel. Deanna, welcome, and thank you for your time today.
Thank
Please
you,
introduce
Amanda.
yourself. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, please introduce yourself and we can get started.
Thanks. I've been a practicing attorney for, since 1985. So you can do the math, very long time. Most of my work has been in commercial litigation. I am also the firm's general counsel. So I'm the attorney to the firm as well. And as I mentioned, I do a lot of commercial litigation. I handle a lot of matters pertaining to contracts.
Thank you so much. So I guess we'll just jump right in. Today, we're really talking about the importance of legal counsel, and I think that your role as our firm's general counsel plays nicely into this topic. But for businesses, when should a business owner look for legal counsel?
Yesterday. I think that we tend to think of so many services that we get that we need to get through the day when we're running a business as a one-off kind of situation. You know, I need this piece of equipment, or I need this particular employee skill set. With legal counsel, ideally, what you develop is a trusted advisor relationship. So rather than wait, as most people do, when they need an attorney, you know, somebody hasn't paid the bill, someone is suing you, you know, there is a dispute of some kind going, try to find that trusted legal advisor in advance of when you really need them. And then that way they can be there for you in every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from my perspective too, I really appreciate when clients come to us ahead of time rather than on the back end of an issue. And it's usually more pressures on if they wait, and there's a lot more stress involved for the client. So I agree. It's good to be ahead of the curve and plan as much as possible.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about contracts for new businesses. How should a newly formed business approach contracting? And do they need an attorney to review every contract that they enter?
I think with every contract is the beginning of a relationship. And like any relationship, you know, it comes with benefits and it comes with the potential for conflict. Mm-hmm. If it, I know that with every business owner, they're always deciding what to invest their money in. And an investment into a contract review will pay off greatly. For example, I was called yesterday by a client who said, we need to end this contractual relationship. How do I do that quickly and efficiently? In less than half an hour, we had a game plan, and it will be one that works. Also, I was involved in negotiating that contract, and we made sure in that formation stage that it had some provisions that would be very beneficial if the relationship didn't work. So we had already set the table for a possible problem, and then we will be able to have a good exit. So I think it's very important to talk with an attorney. And again, it can be a small investment in the beginning, because the reality is if someone else presented a contract to you, the business owner, to sign, it is their contract and it is favorable to them. So even modest revisions can make a huge difference. For example, the sort of services that a business receives on a regular basis. All of those contracts these days have something called an evergreen clause or an auto renew clause. Frequently, even if that's all you changed, even if that's the only thing your attorney did for you, it will make a big difference in the way you handle that relationship and reduce the risk if that relationship goes bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think our role as attorneys for businesses is to kind of think about all the situations that could happen and then protect the client from doing that. And, in our experience, I agree with your comment that if you get a contract from the other side, it's most likely favorable to them. And it pays dividends to give it to your attorney and get a quick review. So I agree with all of your comments there. How would you suggest addressing the need for industry specific expertise?
I would first circle back to hopefully that trusted advisor that you've already found. I mean, for example, with Foster Swift being a full service law firm, oftentimes a client will come to me with something specific. And even if it's not within my working knowledge, I mean, there's a handful of industries that I have a robust working knowledge of. If they happen to ask a question that's not within one of those industries, I can immediately reach out to every other attorney here in the firm and say, hey, do you have an expertise in this? And if not, who do you know? So it's a terrific network for expertise. I also think that anything that is industry specific, excuse me, for example, if you go to a conference that is about your industry, your business, more likely than not, there is some speaker there who is an attorney. More likely than not, there's something called legal update that you might not have thought you wanted to attend, but you should. And that person is probably that industry specific expert that you need. It's much like, I can serve as like your general practitioner, doctor, or internist. And if you need something that I cannot give you, again, if you have that trusted advisor relationship, you're going to count on me to say, this is an industry specific issue that I am not well versed in. I will find someone who is. And that happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most business owners think of insurance coverage when they're thinking more of protecting themselves from risk. But how is their attorney involved in managing risk and providing guidance to minimize risks that are out there?
And the insurance example is an excellent one. We all have our houses insured to protect against fire, even though I've never had a fire in my home. I pay that bill without even thinking about it because that's just expected. On the other hand, every time again you're entering into a contract as a business, you are dealing with some level of risk. And to have that attorney review early on, it will help you manage that risk. Things as simple as I mentioned, eliminating an evergreen clause or making sure that that contract has warranties or indemnification clauses that will protect the business in the event that the person you're contracting with doesn't do their job correctly. So there are always those sorts of things. There are also some very modest but super routine problems that I see. And that's a lot of it derives out of respecting the entity. If you're running a business, you have made the investment into forming a corporation or an LLC, but it is common. I commonly see business owners failing to do things as simple as signing as a member or signing as the president. And then they are exposing themselves to personal liabilities, even though they did the right thing in the beginning and formed that entity. So there are things like that that I think a good attorney-client relationship can help you manage those kinds of personal risks that can flow out of your business dealings. I also think I'm a strong believer in that 15-minute conversation. Again, if you're working with an attorney who already knows you, knows your business, has some idea what challenges you are presented with, how risk averse you are, and that sort of thing, to simply pick up the phone and call your attorney and say, hey, I get this call frequently. I'm not even sure if this is your area of expertise, but I'd like your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And in 15 minutes, we can decide whether something's a big deal, whether something needs further action, and develop a game plan that manages a great deal of risk.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you've hit on this a couple times so far, but having an attorney that's a trusted advisor is so important, and we as attorneys can help you to make those determinations quickly. Because I kind of view us as an extension of your business, and we are invested in our clients being successful. So it's to our benefit and theirs to learn about their business, know about their, risk tolerance, and advise them along the way. So I agree with all of that too. So when is an appropriate time for a business owner to be looking to hire an attorney? I think this is sort of similar to our first question, but I just wanted to follow back up on that.
Sure. I think that there are various levels of kind of maturity within a business, and for a startup sort of business, they have somewhat specific legal needs. Again, you're setting that table properly. So even if a business is in its infancy stage, to have counsel that will advise, excuse me, on the appropriate type of entity to set up, making sure that's documented properly. I mean, for example, frequently see small startup businesses, and the individual who starts it refers to themselves as the owner. They refer to the other person involved as their partner. If they haven't taken the time to do something which is really fairly simple and inexpensive, and that's create a limited liability company, then they're not protecting themselves from individual liability. And then again, there's that relationship. If you have that person you're calling a partner, if you're a limited liability company, you need an operating agreement so that the relationship between the two of you is spelled out in a way that will avoid problems. For example, if somebody gets divorced or falls ill or wants to get out of the business. So there's those startup things that I think are so critical to laying the foundation for the rest of the business and its growth, that there really needs to be that very early relationship. And then again, once you establish that relationship, you have that resource to call when you are dealing with those initial contracts. I think the other thing that's critically important is the employment relationship. If you're running a business and you're not doing it all by yourself, you're also in a relationship with an employee or an independent contractor. And those are most definitely legal relationships that need to be properly documented, and all of those details need to be understood as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of expand on that point, we in the business and tax group, the things that you're talking about, the operating agreement, determining whether it's more appropriate to form an LLC or a corporation, those are things that we talk about daily with our clients, and it's something we're very comfortable with. And I know that a number of our attorneys in this group really view I think I said this earlier, but we view our role as thinking about all the things that could happen and providing a path forward in the event that those come up. So in the operating agreement, you mentioned if a business owner wants to leave or if they fall ill. And so we think about all those things, and we provide a path forward in our documents that we put together. And then we also have really great labor and employment attorneys who can help navigate some of those tricky situations with employees or independent contractors from the beginning of their relationship, so that there aren't issues down the road about whether this person's an employee or not, and how should they be paying taxes and those types of things. So yeah, I think all of that is super helpful.
And I know we're all now navigating what looks like it's going to be a pretty substantial shift away from covenants not to compete.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that are constantly, within a given industry, there are always changes and updates and things that you need to keep abreast of. But particularly, I think in the employment context, there have been a lot of changes over the last, I'd say, 10 years, dealing with independent contractor classifications and covenants not to compete and those types of things. And you really need someone who's keeping abreast of those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And things are changing quickly and frequently.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Deanna, for your expertise and your willingness to join us today and chat about this topic. I also want to thank all of you for attending the second session of Legal Strategies for Women Leaders. As mentioned, this we will be sending you a link to this recording, as well as a short survey, and we value your feedback, so please complete that survey. We are going to be having another webinar later this year. The tentative topic for the final session is what to do if you get sued, and we are planning to have that on October 18th with attorney Hillary Stafford. As we wrap up, the screen should be showing a list of the firm's women attorneys, their areas of practice, and contact information. This will also be included in the link if you have questions on today's topic or other questions. As women professionals, we value the opportunity to network and to do business with other women leaders. Please consider this an open invitation to reach out to Deanna, myself, or any other women attorneys at our firm. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in October.